So you haven't had heaps and heaps of clips of us with baskets full of goodies this year. And that's not because we haven't had heaps and heaps of goodies. As you can see, we're harvesting brambles, tomatoes, peppers. I've got rhubarb here. We're harvesting everything, and I pulled up my onions yesterday in the wind. Okay mate, just harvested the onions, so what do we think? Show worthy? And I've got a few that look like this. I've got this cracker as well though. I think I'm on to a winner with my red onions, what do you think? But it's more that I'm not growing crazy amounts this year. I'm not growing with the purpose of having enough stuff to be preserving and what have you. I'm just growing enough for us, for what we eat. So when we're harvesting, it's tending to be just the little amounts that we're then using that day. And we don't always film, because sometimes we're just grabbing stuff as we see it, and it's not always on camera. But one I wasn't expecting, rhubarb. I'd kind of, if I get rid of this plastic bag, just assumed that the rhubarb was over for this year, but because of all the winds, some of the stalks got peeled off, snapped off. So rather than waste them, it's going into, as Kate says, it's a rhubarb compote. Basically, it's the filling for rhubarb crumble, but we like it on kind of top of yogurt and things like that. So I'm going to do some of that just to get this used up. It's a kind of we call it a throat in the pot recipe. It's one of those, it's not exact. So there's about 600 grams of rhubarb. I'm going to have about 150 grams of sugar in that, a teaspoon of vanilla essence, and maybe a teaspoon of ground ginger. Kind of, that's it. It just gets all boiled away in a pot until it's all nice and soft. That's it. So yeah, I'm going to do this. I'll show you at the end, but I'll let you go off with future Eli, and she can take you round and talk to you about what's happening in the garden. So I'll need to remember that, because I'll be future Eli at that point. Yeah. That's literally it. You don't need to add water or anything, because there's loads of water in the rhubarb, and that'll be really runny, trust me. But yeah, you just boil that away until it's super soft and unctuous. Ready. Just have to get Kate to taste it. I have to go and find her though, she's in the garden. Is this too tart, sweet enough, gingery enough? It's cool.
It's just tart enough.
Just
spot on.
Enough ginger?
Yes. Thank
Excellent,
you.
my job is done. Okay. It makes quite a lot, that's the cool thing. So what I do is I put it in these plastic tubs. Once it's cool, that way a portion can go in the fridge and a portion can go in the freezer. So just portion up however much you might think you might need, however much you might think you might. And that'll be a wee treat tonight. Some ice cream or some yoghurt, or even I could do a crumble topping and make crumble. I'll show you this just because it is like lava, so I didn't want to try and hold the camera and deal with the pot and stuff. It's very hot. But basically, you're just getting it so it's super soft like this. Most of the chunks are broken down. Kate quite likes some chunks left. But yeah, that's it. So just leave that to cool. Right, I'll get washed up and I'll meet you in the garden. Have to be quick, otherwise Kate will water me because she's coming this way. Oh God, I gave her ideas. I figured since we've just done the rhubarb compote, I'll start here with the rhubarb behind me. And what's missing? Onions. So the onions got harvested yesterday, but it was super windy yesterday, so we couldn't really speak to camera because you wouldn't have heard us. But basically, half a bed of onions here this year, so way less than I grew last year. And I split it between Ailsa Craig, which are my brown onions, or some people call them yellow onions, and my Red Baron red onions. Now, I made a mistake. So, the Ailsa Craig onions were fantastic. I had huge onions, massive, well chuffed. The Red Baron, I had 4 or 5, or maybe it's 5 or 6, I'll have to count, decent sized normal red onions, but I had 2 rows of them that had become completely covered by the rhubarb, because, you know, rhubarb got big. And what's the thing about onions, folks? I've taught you guys this. They react to sunlight, so the bulb starts to swell when that onion gets the amount of sunlight it wants. So instead of having that extra 2 rows of gorgeous red onions, I had a few which pretty much were spring onions. Yeah, but I'm happy though. Given I only had space for half a bed's worth this year, I'm still really happy because I got some great onions out of it. And you know, that's the whole thing. This is just our wee garden stuck on the side of the house. It's not for growing food. That's not its sole purpose. It's just a space for us to enjoy that I happen to grow food in as well. So we'll decide now whether we'll just use those onions or if they'll be special onions to go away for our Christmas French onion soup that I told you guys about last year. It's our tradition, and we did it with our homegrown onions last year and it was great. So yeah, quite happy. The onions are now all in the greenhouse drying, so I'll take you to there and I'll show you them in a bit. But the basket's out because you saw me pruning all the tomatoes, doing the end of season prune on them the other week, which I know was a bit unusual for some of you guys. You don't have to do that. It's a much more traditional thing here. I would say old school, because I think the influence of YouTube and the worldwide audience means not everyone does it, whereas it used to be standard. But given the year we've had, I'm so glad I did, because within that week they had started to ripen up. Now, we had a week after then when it was reasonably nice weather. It was quite sunny, quite warm, so that'll have helped. Then it went back to being horrible, wet and grey and cold and windy, and today it's quite nice. It's about 18 Celsius today. It's quite pleasant. So I'm really hopeful because we're really starting to get tomatoes in now. So I need to go and grab some, so I'll take you with me. Oh yeah, and I've been harvesting so many peppers to the point where I'm almost done. There's almost no peppers left. But honestly, folks, it's just silly. So I mean, the California Golden Wonder, I'd said they were all smaller peppers, so that's why they were so fast. But I've left them on the plant because we didn't need peppers. And if you leave them on the plant too long, they obviously will start to go, so they're starting to go all soft and wrinkly. And I've got Golden Horizons, I don't even know where it is. One of these, it was quite a big one, on the starting to split on the plant because they're just on there too long. So Golden Wonder, Orange Horizon, and then I've got Steve's. It was all going so well. I just stood here picking loads of tomatoes. And I told you all about how well the tomatoes are now doing after my judicious prune last week. 2 varieties here. I've got Pendulina Orange and my Unmori Dewdrops. So I've got orange ones and red ones, and I'm loving them. They taste fantastic. These are short season varieties, like even shorter season, because they're little dwarf and micro plants. So obviously you expect these guys to be producing by now. But yes, I was telling you all of that and I forgot to hit the record button. Doofus. But anyways, so that's that, heaps. But you'll also notice the green stalk is looking a bit bare. It got a real tidy up yesterday because, okay, 3 plants have come out now. They were dwarf French beans. The variety was tender green. I think there was a mix up in the labelling. So French beans are the slender green pods that you eat whole. So they're a bit like pencil sized, kind of long straight pods. We love them and we eat a lot of them. However, these beans were not that. They were developing beans really quickly and they were just incredibly tough to eat. They didn't taste great at all. So we just weren't eating them, in which case there's no point in me going to all that effort looking after them. Same again with the peas. So I had the half pint miniature pea plants in here and they really produced. They produced so much, but the peas were just really fibrous and we weren't enjoying them, so we just weren't eating them. There is no point in me keeping those plants going if we're not actually enjoying eating them. It's a bit of a waste. So they're out and it leaves space for me to grow some more stuff in here. But also the tender stem broccoli. So the tender stem broccoli is the plant that I'm growing along with Claire. You can go and see how Claire's getting on with hers over at the farmyard garden. But yeah, they have been producing so well. We've had about 7 really good harvests from that. We loved it. But the plants are just at the point now where they're just bolting. So they've all been taken out. So yeah, now I need to get some tomatoes from here. And luckily I've noticed that I haven't been filming, so you won't miss this bit. Although it's not as exciting as this was. Now, unfortunately, the big beefsteaks out here still aren't ripening yet. They're not even turning. And we are now pretty sure we know what this is, this plant here. We think it might be the orange ox hearts. And there's a reason for that, so I'll take you around that side and show you why. It's to do with the shape of the fruit. So yeah, but the sun gold have been ripening and they're covered in fluffs. So yeah, I've just been grabbing them as they're ripe. And on this side here, this little guy is a plant that we had on the living room window ledge. So he is one of the little micro plants. Now, he has been growing in the house since February, I think, something like that, and producing, and we've been really happy with it. And basically, if it wasn't for this little guy, we would have been really short on tomatoes this year. So he's been keeping us going all this time. But we brought him out because, well, we were getting annoyed not having any light in the house, to be honest. And he's just about at the end of his season, so we've just brought him out here to finish off. Okay, so that is the outdoors. I'm going to take you around and show you these tomatoes. So seeing these tomatoes, I naturally thought, oh, it's probably a black crim then, because I've got the 2 other plants here. But looking up the plant at these newer ones and seeing the shape of these, I think, even this one, I think these might be orange ox hearts. Now, I've got one of those plants in the greenhouse because they're a longer season variety. Tomatoes in the greenhouse to get even more tomatoes in my basket. I'm hoping you can see me, but yes, so tomatoes in here are ripening, hurrah! And we have lots of Mermand, which are now ripe. These are absolute reliables for us. They grow well in our greenhouse and produce for us every year. mean, they're beefsteaks, but some of them are just small. I'm just going to put it down to the year. It's just the way it is. I'm not going to complain. That one's not ready. Oh yeah, this. Look at this. This is an orange ox heart. This is what I was talking about. Do you see the shape? It's kind of almost heart shaped, and it's a much paler green. So I suspect that's maybe what's out there. I don't know for certain, I'm guessing. But that's them, that's them. Barry is now producing, so I need to grab them. And Luffy Schwa as always. Now, if you've never grown Barry's Crazy Cherry before, it's kind of a weird one. They're quite pale, kind of lemon drops. So if you're not sure if they're ripe, give them a delicate squeeze, and they should give, if they're ripe, they'll actually come away dead easy. And if you leave them on the plant, they'll keep ripening further, and they'll go a bit darker. Let me see if I can show you. I don't know if you'll even be able to see the difference when I say a bit darker, but yeah. So, Barry's Crazy Cherry have become Kate's favourite tomatoes, favourite cherry tomatoes to snack on. And I've now got to be really quick if I want to get any. Okay, so that's them, and the Luffy Schwa. I love these. And again, don't pick tomatoes if they're still quite firm, even if they're the colour you think should be ripe. They're ripe when they're soft. So there we go. Basket of tomatoes. Not bad, is it? Now, very quickly we'll talk about peppers. Because I got a really good question from one of our Patreons, Bob, because before I had done the whole talking about the tomatoes this year and the pruning, I'd already done it in here with the peppers. My pepper plants have been going since January, so I've been harvesting these for a good while now, and as you can see, the plants are a bit lacking on foliage. I do that same hard prune at the end of the pepper season, where I take off any flowers or small fruit that I don't think are going to give me full-size ripe fruit, and I take off any excess foliage and branches and that kind of thing. So it'd already been done on these guys, and that's why we're a bit lacking. There are little bits and bobs ripening in here now. They're not quite there, but I'll probably get these harvested this week. And you can see my King of the North are reddening up. Really chuffed with this. Yeah, so peppers. Also, there are less plants now because I think 4 of the plants have already finished. So they gave me all the peppers they could give me, and they're gone, and that gives me space to do this now. My onions. So as I said, these are the onions I harvested yesterday, and they're now in here drying. I've got, I don't know what you can see, it's not the best shot. So I've got, what, 5 Red Baron here. Not bad onion sized. And then I've got the Ailsa Craig, which are enormous. Look at this. Huge. So I'm well chuffed with these. There we go. How do you like them onions? So again, so I said that I've already been harvesting peppers. This is what's sitting in the fridge at the minute because they were all ripe and needed to be picked. So we're going to do some soups and sauces today, and then we'll just get that in the freezer. That's all the tomatoes from today. And I thought I would show you this just so you could have a smile. These are all the tiny red onions. And I'd said to Kate, there's no point in trying to set them up for storage. They're just too small. And Kate decided she was going to have a go at platting them. Because apparently that's a cool thing. Having a plat of onions in a kitchen's like a really posh kitchen. So this is Kate's onions. How sweet. But yeah. So it's not bad for someone that was complaining about not getting any harvests. And this is the stuff that you haven't seen. You didn't see me kind of harvesting all the rhubarb and all that kind of thing. No blueberries. Yeah, I'm well chuffed. Okay, I better get back to doing all this stuff again. Maybe I'll get to sit down later with actual rhubarb compote and ice cream or something. That would be nice. See you, folks.